Your life if you were a Viking. You wake up shivering in a hut made of wood and turf, the smell of smoke and salt in the air. You're 7 years old. Today, your father hands you a small axe and tells you it's time to learn how to use it, because in a few years you might be expected to raid, farm, fight, or die. This isn't a movie, this was Tuesday. This is your life, if you were born a Viking. The year is 850 AD. You're born in a small farming settlement somewhere along the coast of what is now Norway. Your odds weren't great from the start. Roughly 1 in 3 children didn't survive infancy. If you were born weak or in a hard winter with not enough food, your father, not your mother, technically had the right to decide whether you'd be raised at all. This was called exposure, and while historians debate how common it actually was, it was a real possibility hanging over every birth. If you made it past those first few days, your father would perform a naming ceremony, sprinkling water on you and officially accepting you into the family. Only then were you considered a person with a place in the world. Congratulations, you survived round 1. Growing up, you didn't go to school. There was no reading, no writing lessons. The vast majority of Vikings were illiterate outside of simple runic carvings used for names, memorials, or magic charms. Instead, your education was survival. By age 6 or 7, you're already working. If you're a boy, you're learning to fish, tend animals, chop wood, and handle a knife. If you're a girl, you're learning to spin wool, weave cloth, cook, and manage a household, skills that were taken just as seriously because a Viking household couldn't function without them. Play still existed, children had carved wooden toys, dolls, and games, but leisure time was short. Everyone in a Viking household was a working member of the economy, including you. By age 12, you might already be considered an adult. Some sagas describe boys being sent on their first raids or trading voyages around this age. So what does a normal day actually look like? You wake before sunrise. There's no glass in your windows, just small openings that let in smoke and light, covered with animal skin or shutters in bad weather. The center of your longhouse has a fire pit that never really goes out. Everyone sleeps close together for warmth, family and sometimes livestock, under the same roof during winter. Breakfast is simple: porridge, bread, maybe dried fish or cheese. Meat is a luxury, saved mostly for feast or times when an animal is slaughtered. If you're a man, your day might involve farming, barley, oats, rye, or fishing, blacksmithing, or boat repair, depending on your household's trade. If you're a woman, you're managing nearly everything indoors: cooking, brewing, textile production, which was incredibly time-consuming. A single sail for a ship could take over a year to weave, and running the farm when the men are away raiding or trading, which was often. Yes, women ran entire households and farms independently for months at a time. Some historians argue Viking women had more legal rights than most other women in Europe during this era, including the right to divorce and reclaim their dowry. Hygiene, by the way, might surprise you. Archaeological finds show Vikings had combs, tweezers, and ear cleaners and bathed regularly, likely once a week, which was actually more frequent than many of their European neighbors at the time. Your worldview isn't shaped by one religion but by a web of gods, fate, and honor. You believe in Odin, Thor, Freya, and a whole pantheon tied to war, wisdom, fertility, and death. You believe in Valhalla, but contrary to popular belief, not every warrior who fought bravely made it there. That honor was said to be reserved for select warriors chosen by Odin's Valkyries. Fate, word, is central to how you see your life. Many Vikings believed your fate was already woven by beings called the Norns, and that a courageous death mattered more than a long life. This belief system is part of why Viking warriors had a reputation for fearlessness in battle. Dying well was considered more important than avoiding death altogether. Honor, reputation, and loyalty to your family and chieftain aren't just values, they're survival tools. Your standing in the community determines everything: who will trade with you, defend you, marry you, or avenge you if you're wronged. Now let's talk about the part everyone associates with Vikings: raiding. Contrary to the horned helmet stereotype, which, by the way, is completely made up, There's zero archaeological evidence Vikings wore horned helmets into battle. Most Vikings were not full-time warriors. Most were farmers, traders, and craftsmen first. Raiding was often seasonal, something done between planting and harvest, when ships could safely cross open water. If you're chosen to join a raiding party, you're likely a free man with your own weapons, a spear, axe, or seax, a single-edged knife, since swords were expensive and mostly owned by wealthier warriors or chieftains. You'd travel in a longship, an incredibly advanced vessel for its time, capable of both open ocean travel and shallow river navigation, which is exactly why Vikings could raid deep inland, not just coastal towns. Your targets weren't random. Monasteries were common because they were wealthy, poorly defended, and full of portable valuables, gold, silver, and goods that could be sold or ransomed. But raiding was a gamble. You could come home wealthy with silver, slaves, or land, or you could not come home at all. Combat was brutal, medicine was primitive, and infection killed as many warriors as blades did. And it wasn't only raiding. Many Vikings were traders and explorers, establishing trade routes as far as Baghdad and Constantinople, and settlements as far as Newfoundland in what's now Canada, roughly 500 years before Columbus. If you survive into adulthood, marriage comes next, usually arranged and often as much a business and political alliance as a romantic one. As a woman, you'd wear a symbolic key on your belt, representing your authority over the household, its stores, its finances, and its daily operations. Divorce was allowed, and if the marriage ended, you kept your dowry, a right many women elsewhere in medieval Europe didn't have. As a man, providing for your family through farming, trade, or raiding was your central responsibility, and failing to do so could damage your honor and your family's standing in the community. Eventually, your story ends, from old age, illness, or more likely, violence or the sea. Your burial would reflect your status. Wealthier Vikings were sometimes buried with their belongings, weapons, jewelry, tools, and in some remarkable cases, entire ships, believed to help carry them into the next world. Most people, though, had simpler burials, a grave, some personal items, maybe a carved stone marker. Your name might live on in a saga told around the fire for generations, or it might vanish entirely into the frozen ground, one more Viking who lived, worked, fought, and disappeared into history. So, would you have survived as a Viking? Maybe you'd have thrived as a trader, sailing to Baghdad with a hold full of silver. Maybe you'd have died in your first raid. Or maybe you'd never have left home at all, spending your life farming barley and weaving wool by firelight, which honestly was the reality for most Vikings. If you want to see what your life would look like in a different era, let me know in the comments which one, and it might be the next video. And if you enjoyed this journey through history, subscribe. There's a lot more Your Life If coming.